So if you're anything like me, you started or are interested in starting a business because you didn't just want financial freedom, but you wanted time freedom. You wanted to kind of wrestle your time back from that grip that money so easily places over it. The problem is though that starting a business is hard work, despite some of the more adventurous claims of some, people on YouTube. Starting any business, it takes work, it takes effort, it takes hours. But the good thing is that there are things available to you, such as the topic of discussion today, that are going to help you accelerate that process. And today I want to share with you our journey of using a sourcing agent to source a product. I'm going to share with you the pros, the cons, and some bits of advice for you if you decide to go down this route. So let's get into it. All right, welcome to another episode of Brand Builder Diaries, where we're taking you behind the scenes on a weekly documentation of how we're launching a new brand. Products are due to ship out any day now, and so should be on sale around January. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed for all of the updates in coming weeks. We're going to be talking about building the website, growing the audience, and showing you as we build up for the launch, showing you behind the scenes with what we're doing so that you can kind of learn as we go from hopefully our successes, but also any challenges we face as well. And if you want to catch up on any of the previous episodes, you can do that by checking the playlist out below. So what is a sourcing agent? A sourcing agent ultimately is someone that's located in the location that you're sourcing from, that is an expert in the work of sourcing, finding manufacturers, working with manufacturers to source products for your business. And when it comes to starting a private label brand, starting a brand of your own, being a brand builder, one of the most challenging aspects is finding a product research, that early phase. I had a friend text me today even and say, Ben, I want to start a brand, but I'm doing the product research as you teach. They'd found a potential idea that didn't work out. And he said, this is hard. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It's not just some easy get rich quick scheme. This is a real business we're talking about starting. And there are some things that take effort. And what I see and what I hear from so many people is that this initial challenge, it so often discourages people. I even interviewed Marlena from our Brand Builder University community last week, and she said that, after a couple of months of looking, self-doubt almost made her stop running this business. And thankfully she carried on, because then she generated her first 5 figures in under 3 weeks. And it's, a great story, but it's so true for so many of us, is that we struggle with self-doubt. We want to give up when it gets too hard. So, in my journey of business, I'm always asking myself the question, what would this be like if it were easier? What would it be like if it were more simple? And so when we started or talked about starting this new brand, SuperSTEM, with me and myself and Claire, we talked about how do we make this a little bit easier? How do we make this more functional? And one of the ways I wanted to explore was by using the sourcing agent to kind of speed up the time it takes. Because I teach all about differentiation, improving a product, not just selling a product, but solving a problem in the existing marketplace with that product. And so when you do that, there's a bit of work involved when it comes to working with suppliers. And so I said to Claire, I want to test this idea of using a sourcing agent. I've heard about a sourcing agent. I heard that it can be a good thing. For me, the most important thing is time. And even if we have to pay a little bit of extra money, I don't mind, because it gets my time back. And so, and that's one of the big things that I've had to train myself. And it's one of the things I'm constantly trying to encourage other people to remind themselves, is that we're trained or we're ingrained in this way of thinking that says that we should spend a whole lot of time in order to save a little bit of money. So much time invested. Like, we will shop and shop and shop and shop to find the best discount we can to save a couple of pounds, a couple of dollars, right? But we've invested hours of our life into that. We feel a sense of pride, but those hours are hours that we'll never get back. And ultimately, time is the greatest asset. So what if we, as business owners, myself and Claire, and what about you guys as business owners or potential business owners, said, I'm not going to allow my mindset to make me do that all the time, but I'm actually going to be someone who is open to the idea of spending a little bit of money to get back a whole lot of time. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be frugal with your finances. I think financial frugality, I think being lean is absolutely the way I teach things, and it's the way I recommend. We're going to be very lean, as we start SuperSTEM and only get the things we need to get. But one of those things is investing in getting our time back so that we can spend time with our family, so that we can invest in bigger growth opportunities in the business, and so on. And so we explored this idea, and I said, I want to, rather than just go to the sourcing agent, I'm going to go to the sourcing agent, because we had a list of specifications of this product. We made a whole bunch of changes, some things we really were specific about, some exciting new things that we're doing with it, which you will see in time. Don't you worry about that. We're going to show you everything, the products and everything. It's going to be fun. And so make sure you subscribe to see all those updates. And so we had this list of stuff we were going to do, but I was going to also go to a bunch of suppliers the usual way that we would teach, contacting them directly, giving them the specs, asking them for price, because I wanted to know what was going to be the difference, how much more were we going to be paying because of the fees, etc. And what was really interesting, right, is the best price that I got from going to manufacturers directly myself was $14. $14 a unit for this product is obviously a little bit higher price than a normal kind of product that a lot of people would do, but for a good reason. But then the sourcing agent actually got me the price of $12.60 with all the specs I asked for, actually over delivered on a couple, and even said if we order enough units, they'll bring that price down even further. It was amazing to me to compare these two and realize that actually, even though I'm paying the sourcing agent, I think it's around 7%. It's on a sliding scale with this agent, depending on the size of the order. The bigger the order is, the lower the percentage amount you pay. So it's around 7%. But even with that, and all the value that I'm going to be getting that I'll talk about in a moment, beyond just finding the product, we're already cheaper than we would have been if we were gone direct. So for me, that was super, super encouraging. So I know it's not going to be the route for everybody, because I think going and finding your own supply is a great thing, and I think is a great skill to have. But I wanted to kind of offer you our experiences as something to compare against, something to consider if you are worried about sourcing, if you're thinking, how do I make sure about different things, then maybe this is for you. So what I thought I'd do is just for the next few moments, just share a few pros and cons about using a sourcing agent, whether you should explore it or not. And so if you're well informed, you can make a good decision. Okay, firstly, the pros of using a sourcing agent. And the first one for me is a big one, and that is leverage. When you use a sourcing agent, you're leveraging not only their time, which is a massive thing anyway, but you're also leveraging their relationships, existing relationships they've got with suppliers. You're also leveraging their expertise that they've got in sourcing. If you suggest something or want to make a change, they will be able to tell you the best path to take with it because they're experts at sourcing. You're also leveraging their ability to speak the local dialect, whether that's China or India or wherever you may be sourcing from. But you're leveraging that localized expertise. And what we've found in our experience, and what I believe is to one of the reasons why we have got such a good price, is because of their ability to actually communicate with the supplier in their own language. Often it's said that when people are speaking English or coming from a foreign place, or aren't maybe talking the local dialect, it's maybe an opportunity for either misunderstanding or an opportunity for that supplier to think they can charge more. I don't know how true that is, but what I do know is that we've seen the evidence of a sourcing agent actually getting it for cheaper, and that leverage has been super powerful. If you know me, I talk about leverage all the time. One of my favorite quotes is Archimedes. He says, if you give me a long enough lever and a fulcrum on which to place it, I can move the world. There's incredible power in leverage, and using a sourcing agent is one of the great ways to use leverage in a business, in my humble opinion. The second pro of using a sourcing agent is they've often got lots of different services that you can use, like photography, like inspections. They can do that inspection for you, like consolidating samples and sending them to you for cheaper than you would have to do if you were getting samples from 4 different suppliers as opposed to 1 different place. It's going to be a lot cheaper for you. A whole bunch of other things. Again, just that consolidation aspect of it has the potential to save you money again on that order, which brings that percentage that you're paying them even further down. The final pro that I'll talk about today, just briefly, is the sense of security. The security that comes depending on the type of sourcing agent you go with. We went with quite a big established company because for me, if any of you have followed my journey, I had a bit of a horror story last year with our main supplier for our main products, went a little bit AWOL, and because they were our main products, caused us incredible amounts of supply chain issues, cash flow issues. Honestly, it was just the biggest nightmare of my business journey to date. And so what I've decided is that I always want to have backup manufacturer options, and by having a sourcing agent that's kind of got my back, they're kind of like an extension of my team in China. Because of the ongoing relationship, they want us to be working with suppliers that are going to do well with us over time. They're also going to be in contact with those suppliers. What can often happen with suppliers that you work with, say for instance Chinese New Year, a lot of the workers in the factory may go home to visit their family, 10-hour train journey home or whatever, and whilst home for Chinese New Year, they just decide, I don't really want to go back to that job. so they don't go back, and then those factories have to employ new people, train them up again. And so it's hard to keep your finger on the pulse of exactly where that factory's at, whereas that local person that's your rep, that's your that's part like an extension of your team, they're actually engaging with that factory on an ongoing basis. They are, keeping tabs, monitoring, making sure that everything is going according to plan. And personally, I just love that sense of security that brings. So now here's a few cons to consider that I've kind of processed as I've been going on this journey myself. Number one is the lack of a factory relationship. Now, most sourcing agents won't actually give you the information of the factory you're sourcing from. Our sourcing agent did do, because they needed to give us some certificates for something. So we have the information. And so if I wanted to, I could actually go direct to that manufacturer now and say, hey, let's cut these guys out of the deal and save my 7% fee. However, I think that's a little bit short-sighted, because I personally believe that we're paying for a great service. We're getting value from that 7%. It's not just about, and this is the thing that, is really key, that a sourcing agent for me is not just about finding a supplier, but it's about all of that groundwork that they do with them in the local space as well. And so whilst I don't have a relationship with that manufacturer, I don't mind, because I know that they do and I have a relationship with them. And so that's how this whole business works. There's like 7 different sort of stages in the chain anyway. So one extra chain when it's someone very reputable, I personally don't mind that, given the fact that if that factory ever did go AWOL or go down, then I know that my sourcing agent is going to be able to help me establish some other things as well. Which brings me on to my second con, is the potential exposure that you place yourself when using a single agent or a small establishment or a sourcing agency that hasn't been going very long. I wouldn't recommend using someone of Upwork or people per hour or something like that, or a very small agency that hasn't been around for long, purely because that kind of negates a lot of the positives that I've talked about in terms of security, in terms of leveraging relationships. They wouldn't have as many relationships. So personally, I would go for a sourcing agent that's been around a long time, that's an established unit. And then finally, the third con that you would of course consider is the fees. The fees that a sourcing agent would charge you. Like I said, some sourcing agents would charge you an hourly rate to find your product, and some would charge you a percentage based on the order that you place. Now, there's a few reasons why I like the percentage-based model that we're using. Number one is because you don't pay any fees up front. And so to talk to a sourcing agent, get them to, find some potential supplies, see if you can find it in the price range that is going to be profitable. That doesn't cost you anything with the sourcing agent we use, but then you only pay once you commence with an order, once everything's in place, once you're all happy, which is, that's amazing. I love that. And what it also does is, because of the ongoing relationship, because we will continue to pay that fee on each new order, which I know for some is a negative. For me, I turn that and see it as a positive, because they are incentivized. Remember, this is an exchange, a value exchange again. They're incentivized to keep working hard for me to keep this deal in place, to keep it at a profitable level so we can keep reordering bigger numbers. They are heavily incentivized for the long-term relationship. Whereas if you just pay someone up front just to find you a supplier, they got no incentivizedness. They're not incentivized to be able to find you a good supplier. They're incentivized to just find you a supplier at a profitable initial run rate. And so for me, I don't mind paying the ongoing fees. I actually see it as a positive thing, because it creates relationship, it creates commitment. So as we grow our order size as well, that percentage is going to come down, so it becomes even better value as we go. So listen, I know a sourcing agent is not going to be the best route for everyone, and some people will want to A, not pay those fees, and B, have like a more hands-on approach with it. You might want to go visit your supplier one day. I've never been to China, but sure, whatever floats your boat. But for me, the whole idea, the whole reason I got into this business model, the whole reason we're starting this new brand, is to continue this journey of creating more freedom, creating more time. And so why wouldn't you explore opportunities to be able to leverage, invest a little bit of money, and get a whole load of time back? As business owners, we really need to be careful that we're not investing or spending a whole lot of time in order to gain a very little bit of money. We actually need to flip that little bit of money, a lot of time. So listen, I hope this has helped as we are kind of unfolding this journey and going through this process for you. Hopefully following it along is kind of helping you, showing you a bit of the way. But if I can help with anything else, you do have any suggestions, anything more you want to hear about, make sure you do drop it in the comments below. If it is helpful, do hit that like button just to let me know it's worth my time to keep making these videos. And if you want to connect some more, then you've got a few options down below. You've got social media. You can follow myself on Instagram or Twitter and see kind of daily updates as we're sharing the journey of building brands. And then you can join us in the Society, a free Facebook group, just to dig into this stuff a little bit deeper. And of course, as ever, be sure to be subscribed to the channel because we've got a whole load more good stuff coming your way. We've got some more interviews. We've got some more tutorials, some great stuff coming up the next few weeks. Can't wait for you to see it. But for now, it's back to work, and I'll see you in the next one real soon.